Join me, if you will, on a journey through time, a look at the last 73 years in 1 hour. This is the evolution of Corning, New York's transportation network, from footpaths to superhighways, railroads, and waterways. This is the view from my grandmother's window at 570 Frederick Street in Riverside, New York. When I was in the 4th grade, I remember seeing a local history book that had some before and after photos in it, and remember thinking, I'd like to do something like that. It also had a short section dealing with the railroads, but for me, it just wasn't enough information. I needed more pictures and more stories, and eventually more video, if I was going to tell the story of the local railroads my way. Since my father was a disc jockey, and music was always playing in our house, it was only a matter of time before I also took an interest in music, radio, television, history, and of course railroads. This film is dedicated to my family and my teachers, who encouraged me to go after my dreams.
Surprise, but McDonald's of Riverside will be closing its doors for the final time this Sunday, May 16th, to make room for the Route 17 bypass. To thank you for all of your support over the years, McDonald's of Riverside is offering through Sunday specials on 2 of your McDonald's favorites. Buy 1 Big Mac at the regular price and get the second for $0.25. And buy 1 Egg McMuffin at the regular price and get your second for 25 cents too. All the people connected with McDonald's of Riverside, thank you for your past patronage.
I'm your host, Rich Martin, and this is how the Corning Bypass changed my neighborhood.
All right, coming up at midnight, we'll have Mutual News on WCLI.
Eastern gets go-ahead for furloughs. Bangladesh anxiously awaits help. With Mutual PM, I'm Camille Bohannon in Washington.
And now, a blast from the past and the school lunch menu that used to be read by my friend Bill Groome.
It's time for the school billboard. And menu today is southern fried chicken, cooked potatoes with gravy, cranberry sauce, chilled or rosy applesauce, homemade fruit bread, and mixed chicken. Cooked potatoes with gravy, cranberry sauce, chilled rosy applesauce, homemade fruit bread, and milk. Or peanut butter and jelly sandwich with vegetable soup. And that is the school bulletin board. And it was heard every Monday through Friday morning when there was school at 7:15. Well, that's the school billboard.
Corning bypass would radically change this entire neighborhood. William Stubbs, former president of the Bath and Hammondsport Railroad and also a clerk on the ERIE Railroad.
By the time I was about 17, I had been in every state in the Union. I had ridden every major railroad in the country, all the Class 1s. When you're an engineer on one of these things, you know how fast you're going by listening to the exhaust.
Both the Erie and the New York Central had yards on the south shore of the Chemung River on the south side of Corning, located where WEGMANS grocery store is.
WEGMANS brings delicious to the season with our bakery fresh cakes and pies. Enjoy homemade taste with a variety for all your family gatherings. Let WEGMANS help you sweeten the season.
Low prices, incredible service, best ingredients, help with meals, and friendly, caring people who make you feel like family. What an amazing experience. Every day you get our best.
WEGMANS, Corning. Be sure to visit the Market Cafe.
November 22nd, 1952, the Erie was cut over to its new right-of-way. For the first time in 100 years, the South Side did not shake with the passing of trains and received showers of soot and steam. Residents no longer needed to time their trips to the business district by the Erie schedule. They were no longer a perennial excuse for tardiness to work and school. Although the trains were gone, a massive cleanup job remained, during which the business district endured months of dirt and disruption. Rails and ties were removed, followed by construction of a highway base and eventual paving. At this time, the arterial highway extended west only to Chestnut Street. The momentous task was finally completed, and the week of October 10, 1954 was set aside as Achievement Week for celebration for the Corning Painted Post area. As if to erase even the memory of the railroad, the name Erie Avenue became Denison Parkway. Although the term arterial highway was commonly used, the new highway was not recognized as a rapid transportation corridor. Rather, it was accepted as a modern, attractive commercial street.
The last passenger trains left in the late 1960s, and the ERIE station was later demolished in 1990.
In November 1937, a Public Service Commission hearing was held on Erie track elimination. At this time, the most often discussed plan was to elevate the track through the city, as was done in Elmira. Early the next January, a traffic census of 11 city grade crossings from Chestnut Street to Watauga Avenue was made for a 48-hour period. It was tabulated that an average of nearly 1,000 crossings of persons or vehicles was made each hour during the period, and each crossing was blocked more than half an hour daily. The only unblocked crossing was at First Street, where there was a subway which passed under the track and was not obstructed by the trains.
Gang Mills, New York was first part of Ontario County. Its first settler was a man by the name of Samuel Harris, who was an Indian trader and arrived by boat on the Chemung River at Painted Post in 1786. The area geography was surveyed and was known simply as Township No. 2 on the second range of the Phelps and Gorman Purchase. Sam's father was the founder of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. In July 1789, Colonel Arthur Irwin purchased the deed for $3,580. Benjamin Patterson landed by boat at Painted Post in 1797, and in 1803 was the first settler in Gang Mills. Patterson was a direct descendant of Daniel Boone, who had first settled Kentucky. He had a farm near the area where he raised wolves, panthers, bear, and deer. The first steam locomotive to arrive Gang Mills was in 1839 on the Blossburg Railroad. The first through passenger train on the Erie was May 15, 1851. The Erie relocation and the Corning bypass were not the only two forces to disrupt the neighborhood. Early in the morning of June 23, 1972, when I was but 5 years old Man River came a-knocking.
At about 5 a.m. Friday, June 23rd, a wall of water about 5 feet high came down the Chemung River. It was like a tidal wave, and it swept over the dikes, inundating a major portion of the city. We had received a report at about 2 o'clock in the morning that the river would flood at around 5 a.m. We sent out a warning to our people. We were not warned about, nor did we expect, anything like the tidal wave that beset us. The resulting damage is unbelievable.
A flood alert from the Binghamton Weather Bureau has been declared. Stay tuned to this flood alert station. The Binghamton Weather Bureau continues its flood alerts. That's for Elmira, Painted Post, and Gordon. Elmira's flood evacuation plan has been put into operation, with residents from outside being ordered to evacuate their homes.
I remember the heroic state policeman knocking at our front door and alerting us to the rapidly approaching danger. My other grandfather, Corning Postmaster John Ross, had seen the tidal wave coming up Buffalo Street, and he ran into the house and directed my grandmother and my mother to get my sister and I, get us in the car, and get us the hell out of there. The force of the water was so great that it pushed the former New York Central Railroad bridge right into the Chemung.
Now back to our movie.
On the chilly, foggy morning of November 7, 1835, in a remote meadow located in the New York Southern Tier, delegates from the state and officials of a new railroad company gathered in Deposit, New York, to turn the first shovelful of earth in a huge 445-mile rail line. This new line would connect the Great Lakes with the Hudson River and the Atlantic Ocean. Work was also started on 44 subdivisions at the same time. The idea was sold to New York Southern Tier farmers and businessmen who were told they would have their own link to New York City and the world via the ERIE Railroad. A study had begun and was published in 1829 by author William Redfield and was titled Sketch of the Geographical Route of a Great Railway. Railroad conventions were started and were geared towards drumming up support and capital backing necessary to build the Erie. Citizens along the proposed line assembled at village meetings to weigh the pros and cons of the proposed railway. Some were for the building of the railway, but others opposed it. They were people who had spent their lives working in the canals of the day and were hesitant to embrace the new coming technology. Piermont, New York was chosen as the original eastern terminus because of the location on the Hudson River and its close proximity to New York City. It was also chosen in order to obey a stipulation that the entire 446-mile line be contained entirely within New York State. The Erie laid its first rail in 1840, and in 1841 the line from Piermont to Goshen was the only one open. The track work between Goshen and Middletown was completed on June 7, 1843. The Middletown to Otisville section was open on November 1, 1846. The Erie line to Port Jervis was open in 1848. Once the Erie was granted permission to build within the Delaware River Valley, work continued west and into Pennsylvania at Mill Rift. Also in the same year the Erie reached Port Jervis, it completed the enormous stone Storuca Viaduct. Work had begun on that project in 1847 and predates the American Civil War by 14 years.